Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wa salatu ala rasulullah. Okay, we had this vote earlier for those who are at the da'wah table. They said interactive is better than lecture because the number of topics I do lecture on across universities and high schools and masjids, conferences, more interactive, inshallah. I have two parts or 2 points I wanted to make, two main points, and then inshallah we'll have that Q&A and all that. The topic was God is real. So two things. One is absolutely 110% logical, scientific, rational, whatever term you want to use, commonsensical, that Allah exists. So that's also what I meant by God is real. But I also wanted to talk a little bit more about how does that practically impact our lives. What does that mean that God is real, like real in our lives? So those are the two things I was going to talk about. First one, raise your hand if you are familiar with like proof for God's existence, or you Googled or watched a YouTube video on something like that, or an article, God's existence, science, atheism. So majority, okay. Because if like no one had their hands up, I would go into details. Since most of, if not all of you, maybe I'll just briefly go over it because some of you haven't heard this, but it's very important. The first and primary belief that Muslims have is that God is one, but that entails that God exists and that God is one. That's two parts. The first main thing, what makes a Muslim, and some of the people that watch this might not be Muslim. So if you want to know what Islam is all about, well, first, primarily, there's one God created the entire universe. We have a lot of reasons to believe that God exists. It's rational, it's logical, scientific. Scientists tell us that the beginning of the universe, what is it called? What do scientists call it? The Big Bang. It's the beginning of time, space, and energy. Science is saying the universe is expanding. We have evidence of that logically then. There was a starting point, so on and so forth. The universe hasn't always been here is the point. The universe has not always been here. Therefore, logically, what came before it? Could it come from nothing? Either created itself, came from something. There are only a number of options. The universe couldn't have come from nothing because nothing comes from nothing. Something comes from something. Something cannot come from nothing. Too much? Y'all with me? The universe, science is saying the universe began to exist. They're calling it the Big Bang, the beginning of the universe, the beginning of time, space, energy. Basically the beginning of science. If you want to ask what came before that, it's not a question of science. It's not a question of science. It's not unscientific. It's just not a question of science. Science has a scope. It's a subject. Every subject has its place. That's not a question of science, what came before time, space, energy. It's a question of philosophy and theology, right? So we use our brains. It's not something you can put in a test tube. It's not something you put in a telescope. It's not something you can study in the lab. It's logical, rational, it's theological, it's philosophical. Right? And there's a number of logical options. Either it came from nothing, we said it's impossible. The universe could have created itself. What do you guys think? The universe created itself. There's no God. God is not real. It's a figment of our imagination or something that culturally people made up, or it's an explanation that people made up from the countries we come from because they didn't have science, blah, blah. You must have heard all these things over and over again, online and in person at campuses, and yeah, mostly online. But what do you guys think? The universe created itself? Is that possible? Not possible? But why though? Sometimes the why is more important than the what. Why is it impossible that the universe created? Sisters, why is it impossible that the universe created itself? There's no God, it just universe created itself. Why is that not possible?
Why is it not possible that the universe created itself?
Yeah, well, is it possible? 110% certain that Allah was there as a creator? It's not a trick question.
Putting us on the spot.
Putting you on the spot, but it's not a trick question. What do you guys think? You guys are very strong at the dawah table. Some of these sisters are really holding it down. Some of the brothers at the dawah table were just socializing, which I don't judge. There's nothing wrong with actually socializing at the dawah table. It's a good place to socialize, but if there's people that walk by, like socialize when there's no one walking by. When someone's walking by, this is like it's an opportunity to earn your heaven. Yeah, this is how you get to Jannah. The sisters though, they were serious when they weren't talking to non-Muslims. We were going over some serious points, and they were like sharpening their swords to say, so to say. They were training for the next person. But what do you guys think, sisters from the dawah table? Why is it impossible the universe created itself? I know you believe 100% God existed, but like try to put yourself outside of that. How about you're talking to people that are
Created needs a creator. There has to be creators.
design indicates a designer, creation indicates a creator. That's actually logical. It's actually perfect.
Do you want to rationalize it?
Yeah, what we're doing, we're saying it's not scientific, it's rational. Yeah, that's what we're doing. It's philosophy, science. Go ahead. Philosophy, rationality.
Well, because the universe is dependent on a lot of things, and something that is dependent cannot be independent in itself.
Yeah.
Because it depends on the function.
There's a number of arguments for God's existence. This one is the one that who's a famous Muslim that a lot of us know is doing their PhD currently at Oxford, and that's their PhD topic, the dependency argument. It's a name you guys know. Maybe not every one of you, but yeah. Someone's a fan. If I'm not mistaken, he has 2 wives. He has 2 more slots. It's a joke. Muslim jokes. I'm not getting invited again, or what? It's all right. I didn't get paid anyway, so. Alhamdulillah. Muhammad Hijab is currently doing his PhD. Good. This is jokes, yeah.
Simple terms, like if you were to get a book and it has written sentences and structure, you wouldn't say just fell out of the sky.
No author, right? Where's the author? No, it's so complicated. If you look at the grammatical structure, well, who's the author? No one. That's literally what atheists do. Have you guys seen those memes, or are they memes? Memes or pictures or illustrations that like atheist logic, and there's a number of different ones, but one of them is like a sandcastle that was clearly like spent hours. Like if you have a bucket and it took hours, or maybe a team of people built a nice sandcastle on the beach. No one ever comes and says, "Oh my God, it's so amazing. Where did it come from?" Nothing. Oh, the waves hit the sand just right over years, and the sand and the wind and the sky. Bro, that's nonsense. A phone is made up of what? What materials are all of our phones made of? Materials. Throw it. Silicon. Okay, what else?
Lithium.
There's metal, yeah. Glass, plastic, pretty much. Rubber, glass, plastic, metal. All those are found on the earth, right? Not rubber. Rubber is rubber. We make it. That's who's here taking organic chemistry. I took it 1 and 2 in college. Yeah, I was like, yeah, chemical engineering is not for me. I bounced. Should have bounced earlier, to be honest. Took organic 1 and 2, and then polymers, and yeah. So that's not in the ground. But the rest of them, metal, glass, silicon, they're in the ground. What if someone walks by and sees a phone on the ground and they're like, yeah, after thousands of years, the metal and the oil and the whatever in the ground. Oh, even it's from oil. So even that's in the ground. The rubber, it boiled up to the surface, and then wind and sun and sky. You guys get the point. I'm just tired. Sorry. After thousands of years of whatever this and that, physical, natural processes, science, etc., the phone, popped into existence. And no one's gonna say that. Everyone's gonna say logically they walk by, they're gonna say someone dropped it, someone left it, someone put it there. Same thing. The universe can't possibly have popped into existence on its own. Cool. Next point. The universe didn't come from nothing. That's actually these points we just made are for the first point. They didn't come from nothing. It didn't create itself because nothing can create itself. Nothing can create itself. Why? How? Why/how? How come nothing can create itself?
Because saying that nothing is absence of something, so something cannot be created from nothing.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I have another answer. I mean, I'm not saying necessarily it's wrong, but I have to think about that. That's like a tongue twister in the brain. The universe, or nothing can create itself. Okay, how about this? A picture that you can't get out of your head. You guys are gonna hate me for this. Can a mother give birth to herself? Yeah, but why though? A lot of times the why is more important than the what. How come it's not possible that a mom gives birth to herself? Why? Why? How come nothing can create itself? Well, how come? Simple. Yeah, but yes, 100% doesn't make sense. But why? How? Very simple. Yeah, because to create yourself, or for something to create itself, means it didn't exist and existed at the same time. It's impossible. It goes against the basic laws of logic. There's like basic laws. You guys can Google it. There's laws in which the whole subject of logic is dependent on logic. Like you have to always have foundations. Right? There's foundational rules. You don't have to have proof for them. If they didn't exist, then you can't come up with anything. You can't make any statements. You can't come up with. There's no logic without these basic rules. I think it's Newton. It'll come back to me. Fasting brain. I think it was Newton's laws of logic or something. You can Google it. But one of the basic laws is that something cannot be its opposite. Can be is not equal to a negative A. Like they're not the same. They're opposites. So yeah, so something cannot exist and not exist at the same time. I probably lost some of you guys, but it's all right. If you have there's other ways in which you rationalize it. It's okay. There's not only one way to understand these things. But I did want to go through this, and then we're gonna talk about some more practical stuff. It's gonna get interesting. It's gonna get good in here, inshallah. We're gonna get into some juicy, controversial topics about how God should really impact our lives on a daily basis. But something can't create itself. The universe couldn't create itself. It either existed or it didn't exist. Right? You have to exist to create yourself, and you didn't exist. It's impossible. It's illogical. Also, a tangent for those on the Dawah table, and we're in Texas talking to a lot of Christians. One of the many ways in which people debunk like the Trinity and Jesus being God and so on. There's many ways to do it. One of them is to say that they're basically opposites to Jesus and God. You might say, what? But merciful, forgiving. Human beings can have kind of like Allah's characteristics. Like there are 99 names we aspire to them. But no, Allah's infinite, where humans are finite, right? He sleeps, he doesn't sleep, knows everything, doesn't know everything. And all the Bible proves all these things, etc. etc. You go down the list of long things of humans and God, there's like opposites. So they cannot be your opposite. But anyways, that's one way. Others talk about like the Greek mythology. The fasting is really affecting me. I apologize. The Hercules. Hercules is a semi-god or demigod, right? Mom is a human. Dad sounds familiar? That is the head of this head of the skies, whatever, the god of the sky, god of the sky, god of the is it god of the sky or god of the what? Is that right? God of the sky? Yeah, and he's like semi-god. Sounds familiar? That's a Trinity. So some of the argument, I don't know if like there's 100% evidence for this, but one of the theories is that the Trinity developed kind of from that, and it makes sense because Greek and Romans mythology is older than Isa alayhi salam, and like people kind of that narrative, and then also the Roman Empire adopted like pagan holidays and stuff to fit into paganism. Like, yeah, Muslims shouldn't do that. We need to be very careful when we present Islam. We don't like kind of just fit into, make it as relevant as possible. Use the language of the people, culture, references, favorite YouTubers, athletes. I talked about Muhammad Ali at the Dawah table, a good example, someone that everyone knows in America. But don't ever like take the concept and like change it to something that's more palatable. But because that's what they did with Christianity, and now we don't really have Jesus' words and teachings are almost completely lost. The only people on the planet that really follow Jesus are Muslims. But go ahead.
I have a question. So
Yeah.
I get this a lot, that God is almighty and all powerful. Why can he
The
not
problem-
be a human being? If he can,
Oh, I thought you were about to go to the problem of evil. He's also merciful. How does he not? There's a lot of different questions to address all in like 1 hour. I'll try my best. He couldn't. No, it's. I know what you're saying. He's like, God can do anything. They ask a Muslim, or God can do anything. Yes. Well, then why can't he become, walk around on earth and so on? Yeah, it's not correct because the answer is because that's not correct. Muslims shouldn't say yes. He can do anything. Can he lie? Can he murder? Can he steal? No, he can't. Because why? Because he can't. Like he's not able to. Of course, he can murder. Why? How come Allah cannot do these things? Yeah, it doesn't fit his nature. Allah does not lie, murder, steal. He can't break his promise. He told us, Allah's promise is true. You can't go against that. That's not who Allah is. It's against his nature. For him to turn into human and walk around on earth, that's not a. Yeah. Our Christian friends look at the story of Jesus and see that it's very empowering and very beautiful and very God's sacrifice. No, it's not. What's more beautiful is Allah saved him from the Roman Empire, and He saved him and took him up because He loves him. That's His prophet. He gave him all these miracles. He had some of the best miracles ever. He cured the deaf, the dumb, and the blind. And there's so many tangents, so I'm trying to stay focused because there's a lot of good points. But I gave this talk literally in Boston 2 weekends ago, and it's on my. I haven't shared it. It's gonna be on my YouTube channel, inshallah. But about why He cured the deaf, the dumb, and the blind. Specifically, those miracles were given to Jesus because at the time there were people that were actually doctors, and people were starting to well, these people can actually cure diseases. It was a trip. Just like at the time of Moses, they had magicians. So Allah gave them the staff that turned into a snake. It clearly ate up all their nonsense. So and that's why the Prophet had the Quran in his words, because they're poets, a poet society. Yeah, but too many different points. On both these topics, there's a video coming up very soon, inshallah. I'm behind on my content, basically. I'm posting from the last few talks last week. But yeah, the Prophet, the Quran was words, it was language, it was direct challenge to their poetry, because the only thing the Arabs had was poetry. It was a direct challenge to it. It's like a hip hop rap battle. It's imagine you had a stage and there's you have a stage, there's a microphone, like an open mic, there's a bunch of people in the audience, right? And then there's a panel of judges, and it's like Drake and Kanye and Tupac and Biggie and Eminem and Rakim and whoever your favorite. Who are you guys' favorite artists? Who are your favorite musicians? Lil Smoke and Tupac, yeah, whatever. I don't listen to music, I promise, but it's just a good analogy. In our society, if you're talking to people, and this is something that was good for the Dawah table. This is good for the Dawah table because everyone knows these names. They're all sitting on the panel. They're all sitting on the judges, right? They have 3, 7, 8. They're giving you ratings. It's open mic. There's a bunch of audience. And there's a beat, and everyone's it's like a concert, right? Whatever. It's like a music thing. And someone comes up and says a few words, and they give them a rating: 3, 6, 7. Eminem might like that kind of style, and Biggie's like, nah, that's a 3. It's a hypothetical. Obviously, they weren't alive at the same time. And someone comes up and says a few words, and then all of a sudden the beat is still going, but everyone in the audience just stops. They're not booing or cheering, and they're just like. And then the audience, and then the camera and the microphone goes to the judges, like, what do you guys think? And they're not lifting any numbers. They're just kind of and then they look at each other. And then one of them is like, I never heard anything like this before. The other guy's like, yeah, I never heard anything like this. This is amazing. And then some guy's like, I don't know what I just heard. This isn't, how do you do this? English language, but it's not even possible to, is that even right? Yo, sir. And then they're like, yo, where are you from? Who is this guy? And then he says, guys, these are not my words. This is from Allah. And then people are like, oh, well, and the audience are like, the judge is like, and they're like, what? He's saying he's God. It's like, yo, but it makes sense. And then they start arguing, and they basically break up into 2 groups. Some of them follow him. Yeah, I'm a prophet from God. Others are like, we got to kill him. That's what happened in the time of the Prophet. Make sense? That's what happened. The Quran says, if you're in doubt, this is from Allah, bring a chapter like it. Let's do it. Let's rap. Let's battle. Poetry, rap. Let's battle. He did. Some of them did try. They came up with poetry. The best poet in the society was like, yo, this is magic. What does that mean? It's a miracle. He failed the challenge. And then some of them like, what are you going to do? We're going to kill him. They accept the defeat. They believe that they accept that it's a miracle, and they can't match the. Anyways, I gave this talk in Boston in detail, an hour, in Boston last 2 weekends ago, and it's going to be on my YouTube channel soon, inshallah. But people like Hamza Sortsis and others, Ira, I don't know if you guys know, they're based in the UK, very strong da'wah. If you're interested in these topics, I encourage you. They're on YouTube, you'll find them. But this thing, Tupac, Biggie, that's kind of I never heard anybody put it exactly like this, but basically it's poetry, so that was the analogy I used. Let's go back to our point, because we're talking about Allah's existence and then how God is relevant. Yeah. Where were we? The universe couldn't have created itself, and it couldn't came from nothing. The only logical option is only 3 options. Unless you guys can come up with anything else. The only other logical option is that the universe is created by something. But what is this something? Could it be a person? Could it be another universe, another object, a solar system, a planet? It can't be any of these things. Because then you'd ask, well, if let's say universe 1 created our universe. Well, universe 2 created that universe. What created, it goes on to infinity. What created the something that created our universe? What created the something that created something? What created, it goes on to infinity. Why is that a problem? If it goes on to infinity, you'll never have the universe. Is this too fast? Don't feel bad. I took these classes a number of times. I took these workshops a number of times. I read the articles, watched the videos, and then eventually I got it. And now, alhamdulillah, I've been sharing it around the world for 10 years in different countries and different universities. But it took me a while to grasp some of this stuff. I know I'm talking really fast, so don't feel bad. We can stay in touch. You can ask me questions. There are YouTube videos I can share, articles on this topic. But I think it's very important in our times to be very, very strong in your understanding of God's existence and science and atheism and logic. You don't need any of these things to be a good Muslim. But if you're in America in 2023, I don't say you have to, but I strongly recommend to be. If you get strong on these topics, it will only help you, especially in your talking to other people. Even if you're 100% sure about Allah and it didn't take any logic, science, any philosophy to get you there, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. We believe that Islam is the religion of our nature. So it doesn't need, even if you don't use intellect and logic, it also does fit the logic. It fits your emotions, it also fits your nature. Allah created our nature as human beings. That's human beings. gay, straight, black, white, brown, Muslim, Christian. It's human nature. We have human nature. Human nature comes from Allah. Quran, Sunnah, the rules, halal, haram, fiqh, all of that comes from, well, fiqh is a human process, but you get the point. All of that, Sharia, comes from Allah. They should fit perfectly. They do fit perfectly. They're both from Allah. That's what our belief is. It's a natural religion for everybody. But yeah, so you don't need philosophy or logic. If it's not your thing, it's okay. But if you get stronger in this stuff, that it helps you in terms of communicating this stuff with other people. So I encourage you to look into these things. But basically, to finish this point, and then we'll get into part two. The universe couldn't have created itself. It didn't come from nothing. It couldn't have come from something that was another universe or an object or a planet, something that's not a God. It couldn't have, because you have a series that goes on to infinity. It's called infinite regressive causes in philosophy. It's impossible. Favorite sport? Perfect. You're on the free throw line and you want to shoot. It's hypothetical though. But you can't shoot because the rules are you have to ask the captain of your team. He says, wait, what's your name? I forgot. I apologize. Muhammad, you can't shoot. I got to ask the coach. Coach, like, I got to ask the manager or the owner of the team. I got to ask the NBA. I got to ask the president. It goes on to infinity. Will you ever get to shoot? No. So let's say I'm in the stands. I'm coming here to cheer you on. Your team is playing. I'm in the stands and I'm watching. And I see you take the free throw. What do I know? In this hypothetical world, what do I know? If I see you shoot the ball, I know what? Someone give you permission. I don't know who. I don't know if it was like the coach or the captain. I don't know if like you were able to give it yourself. I don't know, but I know that there was a starting point. It couldn't have gone on to infinity. Who understood the analogy? What's the analogy? I know we're all fasting. What's the analogy? That there has to have been a starting point. There has to be an uncreated creator of the universe. There has to be a God. It can't be like another, like Stephen Hawking. Who remembers Stephen Hawking? One of the leading atheists of our times. He passed away some years ago, where he was in a wheelchair, very famous. I didn't read his book, so I'm not going to act like I did, but he had a book, and my friend read it, and he told me that basically he's saying that there's a sea of fluctuating energy that came before the universe. So he doesn't believe in God, like he's not, he's atheist. But he didn't say that like there's nothing. Remember our options? Nothing, itself, something, what created the universe? He didn't say nothing. You'd be surprised most people on the planet do not say that nothing created the universe, because that's a problem. Like, how do you, nothing? Right? So even a lot of leading atheists will just say it's not God. They'll say what? Just like Greek mythology and what did he say? Zeus and Poseidon. They'll say that Jesus and whatever, and Muhammad and Quran, Allah, all that is the same. It's all, what does it say in the Quran? Testing your memorization. What does it say in the Quran? That people are going to say it's what? Made up stories. There's a number of hafad. What does it say in the Quran? That a lot of people are going to say that Islam is just made up stories, like the older, like mythology, Roman mythology. What's the ayah? Asatirun? Asatir is like fables, myths, the people before us. It's like made up ancient fables. So that's what people think today about religion, basically about Islam. It says so in the Quran. They're going to think it's made up stories, just like Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Christmas. Santa Claus comes down the chimney and like fairy tale. What is it? Tooth fairy. So Islam is the same. It's another religion that people made up for whatever reasons. Okay, I know I'm going on tangents. I apologize. The point is going to say it's made up. Stephen Hawking said it's a sea of fluctuating energy came before the universe. So he's saying something, but he's saying it's not God. Don't assume God. It's not scientific or logical to assume it's God and He loves us and He's merciful and He sent the only begotten Son to save you. You can kind of see it from their perspective, right? I'm trying to get you to see what they're saying so you understand why it's wrong. They're saying that you're making up stories, Allah and Muhammad and Jesus and stuff. It's because you were the center of the universe, which is not true scientifically. Right? People thought so before us. Muslims never thought so. But so you think we're the center of the universe, so God is in a human image, which we don't believe. He sent His only begotten Son. You can see it from their perspective. So they take Islam out, just like all the other religions. The reality is that it's perfectly logical and scientific. That was another tangent. Going back, it can't go into infinity. It can't be an energy, a sea of fluctuating energy. It can't be anything, or another universe, or infinite universes. It can't be any of these things. It has to be a God created the universe. Because, just like the example, unless you can't take that free throw unless someone give you permission. There has to be an uncaused cause, an uncreated creator, a prime mover. These are philosophical terms. There has to be a beginning. There has to be a God. There has to be Allah created the universe. Or else it goes on to infinity, you'll never have the universe. The fact the universe exists, by definition, it's dependent. It didn't start. It has a starting point. It wasn't here forever. There has to be an uncreated creator. It's perfectly commonsensical. The universe is proof. Everything in the universe is proof that there is a creator. Now, is that Allah? There's another few steps, because that's an uncreated creator. That doesn't necessarily mean Allah. Allah is more than just the uncreated creator. He's also merciful and powerful and knowledgeable. And we know those things in the Quran and Sunnah, but also some of them are logical. But anyways, you guys get the point. I wanted to kind of throw that out there. Some of you guys are familiar with this content. Some of you that was like brand new, which is cool. It's all right if you don't understand every word I said. I didn't either. I took this class multiple times and then I got it. Don't feel bad. We can stay in touch. You can ask in the Q&A. But I want to move on. God is very real. It's perfectly logical. That's point number one. Point number two, it's not just real in the abstract sense. It's not like logical proof for God's existence. We don't want to do this. Other people, other philosophies, other theologies, other religions, their religions just theology and just words and just fiqh and just halal and just haram and just right Islam Q&A and other websites. You go there, question, answer. That's part of our deen, fiqh and theology and aqidah. And in fact, these are the most important subjects. But religion is not just that. It's not just the answer of halal and haram and what do you think about halal meat? When did you start Ramadan? And which masjid do you go to? And a lot of Muslims, that's their whole life. From 10 years old or 15 or 20, 25, or they go to college, they start practicing. From there till 80, they're going to die. And their whole life was about which masjid do you go to, and which school do you follow, and which scholar do you like, and who do you follow on YouTube. Yo, guys, that's not why Allah sent the deen. That's not what our deen is for. Don't get obsessed with this stuff, yeah? Even if it is true in Islamic knowledge, and it's fiqh and halal and haram and so on, you can obsess over that and make that everything. It's not. Other peoples before us, they made this mistake, it says in the Quran. And others, they obsess with spirituality, the opposite of fiqh and halal and haram. Right? Logic and law. what you should or shouldn't be doing, how you pray and what's right and wrong, and what you should or shouldn't eat, how you should or shouldn't dress. Others obsess over that, made that the whole religion, their religion. Others obsess over just spirituality. God is all love. It's all about forgiveness, and that's all. It's wrong. It's a mistake. Our deen is spirituality and law. You bring them together, and theology. It's all the above. But God is practical and logical, and I'll tell you how. As an adult, you guys are all adults. As an adult, from now, maybe some of you guys are like 18, 19, 20. From 18 till the rest of your lives, inshallah, you give me a number of balls that you're trying to juggle in your life. Number of different areas of your life. They're not 100 areas, or else you have a problem if you think there's 100 areas. You need to really focus. There's a number of things that are very important. You need to learn how to prioritize. It's part of being an adult. There's a number of things. It's not always easy because sometimes even just two of them, they start like clashing. You're trying to like being pulled in different directions. Praying, let's make it super practical. Tonight I want to pray. I also want to sleep. Are those good or bad things? They're both good, but it's a clash. It's natural. Even more, no, that was a good example, but I want to marry this person. My parents want me to marry someone else. I want to focus on my studies tonight, but I also want to play basketball with my friend. It happens. Clash of values. You have a short list, but a number of things that are super, super important. You got to prioritize them, but sometimes there's even a conflict between them. It's not always easy, right? Believing in God and being Muslim is 110% practical and relevant to every one of these areas. Let's go through them. What are areas? What are the 3, 4, 5 major areas of your life as an adult that you should prioritize, that you probably think about every day? Help me out. Huh? Yeah, 100%. I called it, in my list, I had 4, 5, yeah, I said business, but yeah. 100%. Finances. Health. Good. I didn't have that on my list, but 100%, yeah. I didn't have that on my 4th. I guess that's like a 5th point, but yeah, 100%. Yeah, family. These are great. Excellent. Short list of things that are like the most important things. You can't really like get rid of one completely. Sometimes maybe this semester you're prioritizing your studies, but you can't like ignore them. You can't ignore your health, or else you'll be punished for that. It'll hurt you. Come on, guys. There's a few more points. School, yeah. So academic, careers, whatever words you can use different labels. Use whatever in your journal or in your notes. You can use whatever words you want, whatever makes sense to you. But But there's more. Okay, we're gonna talk about that in a second. 100%. I don't put, and this is what I advise people to do, is don't put deen as one of those things on the list. You know why? Because? Exactly. Because all those things, deen is, yeah. This is one of the issues of our times. What's the dominant religion in the world today? It's not Islam or Christianity. The dominant ideology, the most influential value system, what's the umbrella in the world today? Yeah. Liberalism, because you went to the Dawah table, we were talking about this. Liberalism, atheism, for right now, because right now we're not talking about any of these things. We're talking about God in our lives. So for right now, we're going to put them all in one box. We're just going to say all of those things. It's all correct, right? Obviously, they're not all the same thing. There's definitions for these. Liberalism, atheism, secularism. Yeah, liberal secularism basically is like the dominant ideology. Atheism is a piece of that, because this is the view on God under that umbrella. Feminism is part of that. I'm not talking about women's rights. We're talking about an ideology, a certain view on men and women relationships. We have our own view on gender and marriage and all that, but we'll get into actually in a second. No one said marriage. Or family. You guys said family? You guys said family. That's part. Okay, family, marriage is part of that. Cool. Yeah, the answer is this. What the dominant ideology in the world today, secularism, liberalism, says a number of things. It has its own aqidah, has its own belief system, just like we do. We believe in God and the Quran and the Messenger. It has its own set of beliefs and practices and own lifestyle and everything, right? Just like we have one. It's a deen. So from a Islamic point of view, it's a religion. Even though they won't say that, right? If you're atheist, you say you're not for any religion, but it's a religion. In that deen, in that worldview, one of the primary points, literally what secularism is, like the definition of secularism, is that you separate what from what? God from public life, or religion from your public life, or your church and state, right? Different ways of saying the same thing, right? Church and state. So public life, state, like religion, politics, society, activism, etc. You separate that from your belief and your value system. That should be you pray at home if you're going to pray, right? If you want to get married Islamically or religiously or whatever it is, that's fine. That's in your message, but like that's not what you promote for society. Right? If you're going to pray, you don't pray in public, or you don't preach in public, etc. It's against secular liberalism, although it's First Amendment. And it's obviously it's a human right, but that's a whole other thing. So for them, all right, in the world we live in, you have to know this, because if it's the reason I asked why it's the global dominant ideology is that means it impacts all of us to a certain extent, because we grew up in a society, and basically every country in the world you go to today, to some extent, it's going to impact you. Definitely in the U.S. It's a secular country. It's not a Christian country. For us, we have to remind ourselves that deen wasn't one of those categories. It's not, we're Muslims, so deen is super important. So we care about family, studies, grade, marriage, family, money, business, friends, and we have deen. And maybe deen is the first, a lot of people present it as like deen should be the most important thing. That's wrong. With all due respect, it's not completely correct. It's that when you think of business, and you think of friends, and you think of family, and studies, and career, and marriage, and all those other things, and your fitness, and your health, and your basketball, and your whatever, and you're working out, when you're thinking of all those things and doing all those things, deen should be the forefront of your mind in all of them. So it's not one of the points, it's the umbrella. That kind of makes sense? It's simple, but it's huge. I mean, that's really, I mean, if I just said that today, that's like worth it. Because even if it's just one person here that said, I didn't think of it that way, to me, that's worth coming here. Okay, now we'll go into detail. We'll go on to each point if we have time. We're good on time? Pick one. Which one you want to start? The first one they said was finance, business. You want to start with that one? How is it absolutely relevant to our lives when we think of, no way, you Munib?
Yeah.
Let's go. What you doing here? Assalamu alaikum. I didn't recognize you. Sorry, bro. I didn't even know you were here.
I've been going here for a minute, bro.
My bad, bro. I haven't seen you in years. Yo, I grew up with him in Austin. Where's Adi? You know Munib, right?
Yeah, of course.
Bro, sorry guys, because he came in 5 minutes ago, but I didn't recognize him. His brother is like his older brother is like a year or less than a year older than me, and we grew up together in Austin, and we're in touch all the time, inshallah. Yo, his brother's on his way to being the next or the first next Steven Spielberg for the Muslim community. His brother's a filmmaker, mashallah, which takes a lot of sacrifice to go off into non-traditional career paths, which is directly relevant to our topic right now. Sister, you okay? Everything okay? Good seeing you, Munib. That's what's up. Made my day. Y'all made my day like 3-4 times today too. That tajweed class, that was dope. Dawah table was dope. Finding out that one of my childhood friends is like engaged, that's what's up. Okay, alhamdulillah. And he told me not to publicize it. My bad. I'm the worst. All right, bismillah. How is business, finance, career? Let's put those for the sake of right now, because also I don't want this to be another hour. For the sake of finance, career, business, etc. For the sake of right now, we're gonna put them into one box and just make it the same thing. They're not the same thing, but let's put them together. How is believing in God 100% directly relevant and actually has an impact on this area of your life? Let's get as practical as possible, like actual real, like on a daily basis. How does it impact? How does you believing in Allah? How does it really impact your business, career, choices, finance, and so on? You guys gotta be loud, yeah?
You don't get into interest and stuff.
That's one great, excellent example. I had that on my list. I had a number of 4 or 5 points, but that's one of them. There's a way to make money and it's interest. As a Muslim, you're not going to think about it. You're not going to debate it and so on. Just stay away from it. Allah said in the Quran that interest is not business. Business is beautiful. Allah loves business. Prophet was a businessman. All throughout history, Muslims went all over the world because they were engineers and doctors? Nope. Because they were businessmen. They were entrepreneurs. Nothing wrong with being an engineer or doctor, but